Good morning, girls. Today, I welcome you all to BA Part 2, the class of English Literature. These are very hard times, and now we are getting back to new normal. So, that is why this is a new phase of life which you will be facing. And that is why we have come up with innovative ideas to take class and to get you start kicking your classes again. As I had already told you that I will be doing the Solitary Reaper in the Google Classroom. So now I start with the poem The Solitary Reaper by William Wordsworth for BA Part 2 English Literature. When we talk about William Wordsworth, let me give you a few lines of introduction. William Wordsworth is a romantic poet, basically known as the 19th century poet. Now, what do we mean by the Romantic Age? The Romantic Age means this is a shift from the 18th century, that is the neoclassical age, where poets wrote poems to appeal to the mind of the readers, whereas in the Romantic Age, the poems written by the poets were to appeal to the heart of the readers. So it means that emotions are clearly involved in the poems. The mind has taken the place, the mind has now gone and it has been replaced by emotions. We have a few leading poets in the Romantic Age: William Wordsworth, S.T. Coleridge, Lord Byron, Keats, and P.B. Shelley. The poem which we are going to do today, The Solitary Reaper, is a very simple poem by William Wordsworth. Now, a few lines on William Wordsworth as a poet. William Wordsworth was a poet of nature. He was a philosopher, a lover of nature. Rather, I would say he was a worshipper of nature. He worshipped nature, and in a poem, he was ready to give up his religion, Christianity, and adopt paganism. Paganism is a religion in the ancient Greece where people worshipped Pan God, who is the god of nature, and the people who followed Pan God and worshipped nature are known as pagans. So Wordsworth is so much in love with nature that he is ready to give up his religion, Christianity, and to adopt paganism. So he considered nature as his friend, philosopher, and guide. For him, nature was the God. And that is why William Wordsworth is called the best poet of nature. The poems which William Wordsworth wrote were based on a formula or a fundamental which is known as emotions recollected in tranquility. Now, William Wordsworth had a habit, or he enjoyed taking long walks in nature. He used to sometimes accompany his close friend S.T. Coleridge, sometimes his sister Dorothy Wordsworth, and many a times he used to go alone, and he used to observe and absorb the beauty of nature. But he immediately did not write whatever the emotion welled up in him. He used to go home, he used to put those emotions at the back of his mind, and whenever he was in a pensive mood, in a recollective mood, he used to recollect the emotions which had been experienced by him, and then he used to pen down the poem. The Daffodils, The Solitary Reaper are a few poems which are based on emotions recollected in tranquility. Now, the poem which I am going to do today, The Solitary Reaper, let me tell you that the poem is based on two types of interpretation. One is the word meaning, and second we have the deep down interpretation or the emotional interpretation of the poet. The poet was on a long walk which he usually did, and this time he was walking along the highlands of Scotland. And suddenly, what does he see? He sees a single girl, a solitary highland, that is a mountain girl, working in the fields, and while she is working, she is also singing a song. Now she is singing in a dialect, that is the local language of the village where she belongs to. So Wordsworth does not understand the meaning, but the music, the poem, the song which she was singing, it is not barried by any kind of language. Language is not a barrier. It is not an obstruction. It is to be felt in the heart. It is not for the mind. So the poet says, behold her, single in the field. Behold her means look at her. Look at the girl who is absolutely alone in the fields. Yon solitary highland lass. Yon means there. There is a solitary means single. Highland means mountains and lass means girl. So the poet says that look at her. There is a single girl who is working in the fields, who comes from the highlands, that is the mountain. Reaping and singing by herself, stop here or gently pass. So she is engrossed in her work. She is oblivious to her surroundings. She is reaping, that means she is cutting the fields, cutting the crop with the sickle, and she is singing. By herself means absolutely alone. And she is so engrossed in her work that the poet does not want to disturb her. Neither does he want anybody to disturb her. So he says, stop here and listen to the beautiful song that she's singing. Enjoy the moment, enjoy the music, or you quietly go away. Do not disturb the girl, otherwise the magical moment will be disturbed. Alone she cuts and binds the grain and sings a melancholy strain. So alone she is cutting the crop and she is binding them into the bundle and she is singing a melancholy strain. Melancholy means a sorrowful and strain means a song. So this is what the poet has understood by the tone, by the music of the girl, that she is singing a very sorrowful song, though he does not understand what she is singing. Oh, listen, for the vale profound is overflowing with the sound. So the poet says, listen very carefully. Why? The vale means the valley, profound means deep. So the deep valley, because we are saying that she's a highland girl. She's working on the mountains. So obviously when there is a mountain, there is a valley. So he says that the deep valley is overflowing, means echoing with the beautiful music of the girl. Now in the next stanza, the poet goes on to compare the beautiful, soulful song of the girl to two birds. The first is the nightingale and the second is the cuckoo bird. He says, no nightingale did ever chant more welcome notes to weary bands of travelers in some shady haunt among Arabian sands. No nightingale did ever chant, no nightingale bird who sings very sweetly did ever chant, means did ever sing such a beautiful song. And when the nightingale sings, it is like a welcome song to the weary bands. Weary means tired and band means group of travelers. In some shady haunt, here is oasis. Now what is oasis? Oasis is a piece of land where there are trees, date trees, palm trees, and you can find water in a desert. So here the poet clearly mentions the Arabian sands, that is the Arabian desert. So the poet says that when a tired group of travelers who are passing the Arabian desert, when they hear the sound of the nightingale, they become very happy because they have found the oasis where they can have water, they can rest and they can rejuvenate. So they are very happy to hear the sound of the nightingale. But when the poet compares the song of the nightingale to the song of the girl, he finds that the song of the nightingale is more the sound of the girl, is more welcoming, is more beautiful, is more enchanting, is more mesmerizing than the song of the nightingale. Now the second comparison is to the cuckoo bird. A voice so thrilling never was heard in springtime from the cuckoo bird, breaking the silence of the seas among the farthest Hebrides. So the second comparison is of the cuckoo bird. The cuckoo bird, he says, has a very thrilling voice, a voice which fills you with a lot of enthusiasm. a lot of excitement. Why? Because the springtime is about to come. The cuckoo bird announces the commencing of the spring. And the cuckoo bird, when the cuckoo bird sings, everybody is thrilled, and the sound of the cuckoo bird travels even to the farthest, means far away islands, which are named as Hebrides. The whole environment, the whole island is filled with thorough excitement, enthusiasm, happiness, because the winter is about to end and the spring is about to come. But again, the poet says that when he compares the song of the girl to the song of the cuckoo bird, he finds that the girl's sound, the girl's song, the girl's melody has more thrill, has more excitement, has more enthusiasm. Though he does not understand the dialect, yet there is a emotion, a surge of emotion which arises in the heart of the poet. Now, as I already told you, that the poet does not understand the language or the dialect. So he says, will no one tell me what she sings? There is nobody. So obviously there is no one to explain the theme or the topic which she is singing. Then the poet starts assuming or guessing. He says, perhaps the plaintive numbers flow for old unhappy far off things and battles long ago. Now the assumption is that maybe the plaintive means continuous, numbers means song, flow means are coming out of the girl. So probably she is singing continuously about old, unhappy means sorrowful, far off things means things which do not involve her personally, or maybe she is singing of some battle which has happened long ago and has caused a lot of sorrow and pain in humanity. Or is it some more humble lay, familiar matter of today, some natural sorrow, loss or pain that has been and maybe again. So the poet says that maybe she is singing a humble lay. Humble means some personal. Some short lay means sorrow. Familiar matter of today. Some experiences that she has experienced in the present times. Maybe it is some natural sorrow. She has lost someone, some dear one. Maybe she has experienced some pain, some natural calamity that she has already experienced, and maybe again, and she is fearful that it may be again. So the poet does not understand at all that what she is singing, and he is assuming that probably she is singing of something which did not concern her, some objective theme, or maybe it is a subjective theme that concerns her directly, and there is a feeling of catharsis. The catharsis is feeling of pity and fear. Pity because it has happened to her, it has affected her, and fear that it may not happen again. But then he does not understand. He says, whatever the theme the maiden sang, as if a song could have no ending. Now when there is nobody, she is absolutely alone, she is solitary. So obviously there is no one to explain to the poet that what is the theme, the topic, the feelings which the maiden, the girl, is expressing through her song. But she sang continuously, as if a song could have no ending. I saw her singing at her work and over her sickle bending. So she was continuously working, cutting the crop with her sickle, and she was singing the song. But she was singing as if her song could have no ending. I listened, motionless and still. And the poet, he says, I was so mesmerized, hypnotized by the beauty of the song, by the melody of the song, by the music of the song, that I listened to her song motionless, without moving, and still means absolutely quiet without disturbing her. And then he regained his journey, and he says, as I mounted up the hill, he started climbing the hill. The music in my heart I bore, long after it was heard no more. He says that now when I listened to the girl, and then he realized that it has been a long time that he's listening to the girl and he has to regain his journey. He started climbing the mountains. But he says that the music which had affected me, the music which I had absorbed in my heart, the music which had entered my heart, long after again I had gone to that same place, I did not hear that music again. So this is a beautiful poem by William Wordsworth, where he talks about the melodious song of the Highland girl. And though he does not understand the language, yet music has no barriers, music has no language, music has no countries. It has only emotions, and that is the emotion. These are the emotions which the poet has been experiencing. I hope you have understood whatever I tried to explain to you in the poem. And if you have any doubts, please write it in the classroom. Thank you. Himani? Himani? हो गया?
उसको सेव कर लें।
15 मिनट
हाँ, हाँ।
51 सेकंड का मैं तो धड़ पढ़ा दी बिना फुल स्टॉप, बिना उसके।
ठीक है, ठीक है।
अब और देखो, मैं तो अटकी एक तो दो बार फंबल किया, पर मैं नहीं कर
अब इधर देखिए कर लिया, अब इसको